Hey everyone, so this morning I'm going to be doing a little bit of brush hogging with my skid steer, my JCB 260T, and there's been a handful of people that know me personally have asked about the brush hog that I got for my machine. So I thought I'd just go over that a little bit, take a little bit of video of me actually doing some brush hogging, maybe show a little bit of the material that I'll be brush hogging down today, just so that they could get a little bit better idea of how the brush hog that I chose performs and kind of what it looks like and the kind of job it does. So I'll go over that real quick with you guys, what it is and sort of why I picked it. So the brush hog, or I guess the brush cutter that I picked, it's a CID brand. I believe now maybe the company that makes CID is owned by Ironcraft, so you might search for an Ironcraft and you might find these brands. So the model, I'm going to cover up my serial number, but the model that I picked is a TR 172778S, and so I believe the 1727, that's the range of hydraulic flow that you've got to have for the machine. And then the 78 is I believe that would be the width of the machine, or the width of the cutter itself. So one of the reasons why I chose this machine, or this size, is because it's just slightly over the size of the skid steer itself. So I want to be able to mow up against fences and things like that, which I'll show you here in a little while. I want to be able to mow right up against them and not have to worry about my tracks getting into the fence or my tracks getting into whatever. So I wanted a brush cutter that was just over, you know, the width of the tracks on the machine. So this is technically their the high flow version. So I guess it's a little bit different than what the model number said. This says 17 to 30 gallons per minute, and so that's kind of what your machine needs the range it needs to be in to be able to operate this machine. Now my skid steer itself, it actually will go over that flow rate in gallons per minute if I turn the high flow on. So I'm actually operating this high flow brush cutter in just the regular flow mode, and I believe it's 24 gallons per minute is what this machine puts out in regular flow mode. So it's just sort of right in there in the sweet spot between 17 and 30. I don't really have an issue with power to the cutter itself. I think it does a pretty good job with respooling the brush cutter. You know, if you get it in the dirt, you know, that really bogs it down, but you know, you got to try to keep it out of the dirt. That's the idea. But otherwise, you know, I'm cutting some pretty heavy stuff in here, and it does a good job. Like, I don't ever have any trouble with it bogging down. I just try to keep my ground speed smooth and steady and kind of consistent, and it just mows it down. What I'm going to show you today is probably not a good representation of what the cutter will actually do, because I'm not that great of an operator yet. I've just kind of started using it. I'm still kind of getting used to how to operate it efficiently. So what I'm going to show you, it'll do better than that. I just can't operate it better than that. So yeah. So like I said, this is a high flow machine, so you do have to have a case drain, which is what this little line right here is. This is case drain. So this is the flow into the motor. This is the high flow, or this is the flow out of the motor. But you got to have a case drain to be able to run this version. Now they do make this version of this cutter with a gear motor. This is a bent axial piston motor, which is my opinion a better motor. It's a more expensive motor, but it's also a more efficient motor. And so you're going to get more efficient use of your hydraulic power with a motor like this. But the downside is it's more expensive, and you do have to have a K-strain for it. But you can get this in what they call a low flow version. That's the same. It's the same cutter. It's just got a gear motor instead of the piston motor that's in mine. So just hooked up, the standard way for these JCBs. I got my K-strain in here. I got my in and my out. So pretty straightforward as far as that goes. Now, one thing I've done on my machine, because a downside I'd say to this, it's a downside and it's not a downside. But this mower is very heavy built, which is awesome. That's one of the reasons why I bought this particular cutter instead of, a cheaper made overseas, whether Mexico, China, whatever type of cutter. I paid more for it, but it's far superior in quality and as far as materials go, and quality from a manufacturing standpoint to any of those overseas cutters that I took a look at. The downside is it's heavy. That's where I was going with that. It's a heavy cutter, which is good and it's bad. It's definitely not too heavy for this machine. This machine doesn't have any problems lifting it, moving it around, whatever. But I'll show you one of the things that I did. I actually, here in the plate, it's going to be hard for me to show you. Now, I'll show you in a minute. Whenever I start it up and lift it up, I'll show you what I was going to show you. All right, so I've got my machine warming up in the background. I was just going to kind of show you guys some of the stuff that I'm mowing down out here. So I've got some of these locust trees here that they're not real big, and this is not, if I get my hand out of the way. This cutter can definitely mow down bigger trees than this. That one's about, looks like that one's about 2 inches roughly. These trees, these locust trees here, they're not hard trees. They cut pretty easy. Here's some that I cut off pretty low to the ground. This is a kind of a combined stump. I would say altogether it was probably 2 inches. There's some others. This brush cutter has absolutely no trouble with these. It cuts these down and they might as well just be weeds. I forget for sure, but it seems like this cutter, is advertised to be able to cut down I want to say an 8-inch tree. Double check me on that. It's been a while since I've looked at the specs for this thing, but they advertise that it's you can mow down a pretty good sized tree with these things. I don't think I would do that necessarily, just because I don't want to beat up on the equipment, but that's what they say. So we got one down here, just kind of trying to give you an idea of how big these trees are. So the stump down close to the bottom where I'm going to cut it on this one, it's 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches. Over here, here's some others that are, they're both easily 1 inch, 1.25 inches. So there's definitely some trees out here that are going to be some bigger than that. But I just kind of wanted to show, there's a mix of big tall weeds. There's a mix of those little trees. There's a mix of, just some regular Bermuda type grass and some prairie grass out here. It's a pretty wide variety of different type of materials to go through the machine. And one thing I like about this brush cutter in particular is that it does a good job just cutting grass. The blades are pretty sharp because it's new, but it spins fast enough on my machine that it doesn't have any trouble just cutting, just plain grass. It doesn't care at all if you run over little, little trees. I know the last time I mowed out here, I trimmed up some stuff kind of around the edges, and I trimmed over those locust trees that were probably 3 inches, and it doesn't care. It just goes right through them. Then barely even slows the machine down, to be honest with you. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of what I was actually cutting, so that you guys could sort of understand what we were going through out here. And most of the locust trees that I'm cutting down, I'm a little over 6 foot, and the taller ones are probably another 6 inches. So they're somewhere between 6.5 and 7 foot tall, let's say. So I get back in the machine, and or actually I'll probably put you out on a fence post somewhere and let you just watch for a while, and I'll pick you up there. Alright guys, I apologize if it's a little bit loud here. It's kind of windy out, and I'm not going to shut the machine down just for the sake of showing you guys this. But if you, one of the things I was talking about earlier is, if you'll see right there, that's a piece of 3x3 heavy wall tubing that I put in there that runs all the way across the frame of the machine. And I also put a, it's going to be hard to see, it's going to be hard to get the focus, but right in there I also put a backer plate in there that's replaceable for those two things to wear against each other. I put that backer plate in there so that it can get worn out instead of my machine boom. As you can see here, the previous owner, they wore it out, but I'm going to try to avoid wearing it out anymore, and that's one of the things that I need to get fixed eventually. I thought I'd also, since I was out changing the camera around, I thought I'd give you a better view of the blade system on this cutter. Get my tape measure out real quick and I'll show you. So the blades are, bear with me. Oh, come on. Blades are about 5 3/4 wide, and about, I don't know, looks like maybe 5/8, just guessing roughly. Looks like 5/8 probably. 5/8 thick. As you can see under here, there's 3 blades. All right, there's 1, 2, and then 3 out here. And it's optional on this cutter, but and I didn't get it because I didn't really think I would need it. But you can get an optional mulching teeth that go on the bottom of the blade carrier, and what that allows you to do is, if you have a stump or something you want to mulch up, it's got mulching teeth around the periphery and throughout the middle of this plate. That way you can, if there's a stump, you can set straight down on top of the stump and mulch it up to an extent. I wasn't really looking to do any mulching of that kind. I mostly just wanted this for a brush hog, so I didn't opt for that. It was a few, I don't know, it was a few $100s extra, and I just didn't really think I would need it or use it that much, so I didn't opt for that feature. All right, guys, I'm in the cab of the machine now. Obviously, I'm going to take a little bit of in-cab footage. I may talk a little bit, but I don't know if it's going to be too loud. I've got some rattles in here, some plastic rattles, and the machine may just be too loud for you guys to hear anything that I'm saying. If you hear that buzzing, that's just my high fuel level alarm. I guess I got my fuel tank too full, and it's let me know that it's full, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, I don't know if you'll be able to hear anything that I'm saying. So if you can't, just wanted to give you an in-cab view, kind of see, for you guys thinking about the cutter, you know, to see what it looks like, the operator view would be like through a JCB anyways. I don't know what it would be like through, you know, one of the other machines. Probably a little more restrictive on the sides, just because that's sort of how other machines are. Shut up, I know it's full. I know it's full. Alright, but anyways, we'll get on with it. So all that unlocks our auxiliary flow, and it's up in the air. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to set it all the way down on my 3x3 stop. Whenever I'm operating it, unless I want to trim a low limb, the only thing I ever really do is just tilt it, you know, on the stop itself. I rarely ever lift the boom up while the cutter's running, rarely ever. This is just glass. So yes, I know people in the comments are going to say, oh, you need, you know, ballistics glass and all that. If I did this all the time, yeah, I absolutely would. If I was raising my boom up all the time and, you know, trimming things way up high, yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And, you know, to be honest, I probably still do anyways. Am I gonna spend that money to do that? Probably not right now. All right, so that's down. I'm gonna leave that resting on that 3x3 piece of tubing. I feel like it's a lot better for the boom. Since this mower is so heavy, it's a lot better for the boom to just be resting down all the time on something solid than be floating and having that boom cylinder, you know, constantly taking trying to take the cushion out of keeping the mower up in the air. All right, so now that we've got all that unlocked, actually I'm gonna pause because I'm gonna take my sweatshirt off. All right, that's better. My air conditioner doesn't work in here and this thing becomes a greenhouse on sunny days. All right, so we're gonna pull back on this right here and that's what's gonna start the flow to our auxiliary. We'll be able to see the hoses move around some, maybe. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I can feel it spinning up. I'm gonna tap the button on the underside of the joystick to lock the flow in, and then I'm just gonna slowly rev the engine up. So again, I'm running this on regular flow mode. My high flow is locked out. And guys, this may be pretty shaky in-cab footage, but you know, I'm just holding my phone. I'm not really set up to be, you know, an ultra super cool YouTube star. Just kind of want to give you guys an idea of sort of what it looked like. So if it's jumpy and shaky, my apologies. Just gonna set about what I think my level should be, and we'll go. I'm gonna try not to stick this thing in the ground since I've just got one hand on the controls. And it's still telling me that my fuel tank is too full, which it's not spilling out, so I don't know how it could be too full. I have looked up the air code and that's what it is. It's the high level sensor on the fuel tank, so don't worry, I know exactly what it is. And it's not a problem. So this is, you know, this is what you got when you're running it. Here in the JCB, anyways, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good view. You know, just sort of straight out the front. The push bar is something that I personally could probably do without. By the push bar, I'm talking about the push bar on the front of the motor, or on the front of the mower. I could probably do without that push bar. I'm mostly just using this for a brush hog on my skid steer. I'm not really looking to do any serious hardcore brush cutting. You know, I don't do this for a business or anything. I'm just out here in my own pasture, just trimming the brush. One thing, this is not going to be a JCB commercial, but one of the things I like about the JCB is that the sight picture is so good. Got, you know, you can see out the side really well. You can see right down at the track. You can see out this side really well. And I know there are people that are going to hate on JCB and whatever, and it's just whatever you got, it's whatever you like. But I sure do like the side door entry and exit, and the clear line of sight for the most part all the time. So these trees right here, they're 7 foot tall probably, and they're somewhere around that, probably 2.5 at the biggest in diameter. And again, they're not a hardwood. They're just they're a nuisance tree. They're just kind of brushy nuisance tree is what I would call them. You know, this is not a fancy machine. This is not a new machine. But it does a fine job. You know, these JCBs only have 74 horsepower, which, you know, in this application is doing perfectly fine. I mean, it's capable of more than I'm capable of as the operator. Just trying to kind of keep it slow and steady and let the machine do the work. I am going to raise it up just a little bit, or tilt it up just a little bit rather. My bucket curl cylinder does seep just a little bit, and I think probably anything but a new machine, when you have this much weight out on the end, is probably going to seep a little bit. So as I go, depending on how level the terrain is, and then also how long it's been since I've tilted it back. Sometimes I've got to tilt it back a little bit. I'm going to tilt it down just a little. The sight picture of the brush hog is actually a little bit deceiving. You actually want to run it a little bit nose down for it to cut level. I think I'm just going to stop talking and just I might put some music over this or something and just let you guys kind of watch. interject here real quick. This is one of the reasons why I wanted a mower that was as wide as my machine was, because if you look, kind of look down here, you can see how close the track is to the fence. And yesterday when I was actually mowing this, my track was just right up against the fence. So that's pretty handy to be able to get that close to something and, you know, mow right down the edge of it. And then to shut the mower off, I'm just going to gradually idle the machine down. That way the motor on the mower can slow down naturally. Once I get all the way down, I'm going to just let it sit there for a while. Oh, this thing. So you guys can see, I've been running this machine, I don't know, I've been running the mower for probably 45 minutes now, all total. It's probably 80 degrees outside now. My hydraulic temp is great. My water temp, my coolant temp on my engine is right in the middle where I need it to be. Let's just go look at you. I bet you're up. Oh, see, now it's gone. It just comes on and off. It's a C411 is what the code is, but anyways. Anyways, guys, I might include just a little bit more footage of me just doing some mowing, but I think that's probably going to be it as far as talking goes. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of this kind of stuff, there's something therapeutic. I don't know what it is about watching somebody brush hog or watching somebody cut hay or bale hay or whatever. I know you guys know what I'm talking about, because I know it's got to be more than just me out there, or there wouldn't be so many brush hogging videos on YouTube. And you know, I bought this brush hog for the skid steer because I wanted a skid steer because I wanted just a jack of all trades machine. If I was doing nothing but brush hogging all of the time, would I want a brush hog for a skid steer? No, I wouldn't. I would go get a tractor and just drag a brush hog around with a tractor all the time. but I wanted to be able to do more than I could do with a tractor, easier than I could do with a tractor. So I bought a good, what I feel is a good quality brush hog for the skid steer. Anyways, guys, that's it for today. Let me know what you think in the comments. See you later.